The Dallas Stars got back in the win column on Thursday night. They shut out the Washington Capitals 2-0 at the American Airlines Center. And on today's episode, we will be reacting to and reviewing this game. A massive win for the Stars. We got a lot to talk about, and we'll go inside the Stars locker room and hear from Jake Oettinger, Jason Robertson, and Yoel Kiviranta on today's episode of Locked On Stars.
Your Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. Welcome back to the Locked On Stars podcast, the only daily podcast covering the Dallas Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Dane Lewis, your local expert on all things Dallas Stars hockey, credentialed member of the Dallas Stars media, coming to you on this Friday, October 28th. And today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline.net is where the game starts. And whether this is your first time here or you are a recurring listener, thank you for stopping by today's episode and making Locked On Stars your first listen of the day. If you're new to the YouTube channel, please do consider hitting that subscribe button as we are on our journey to 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2022. If you already subscribed, be sure to tell a friend, a fellow Stars fan, about the YouTube channel. Encourage them to subscribe and encourage them to also find and follow us on your favorite podcasting platform. If you enjoy listening to the audio version of the show, we are free and available no matter where or how you choose to listen. You can also find and follow us on social media at Locked On Stars on both Instagram and Twitter, as well as my personal Twitter account at Dane_Lewis. But let's jump right into last night's game, and what a fun game it was. Got to be in the arena last night watching this game with about 18,000 other people. Stars fans were electric, especially near the end of the game, and a lot of that had to do with a fantastic effort from goalie Jake Oettinger. And the Stars were in need of a win, and a big reason why they got the win on Thursday night was because of the heroics from Jake. I mean, and it wasn't just last night. I mean, of course, he gets his first shutout of this season, and nice to see a Stars goalie record a shutout this early in the year. It felt like it took ages for the Stars to get a shutout last season, but Jake already off to his first one of the year. I can't imagine that it will be his last one. I have to assume that he's due for several more this season based on the way he's played. And again, not just tonight, he has been phenomenal to start this young NHL season. A 1.17 goals against average and a .960 save percentage. I mean, phenomenal numbers from Jake Oettinger. I mean, I could sit here all day and go through the dictionary and find different words that are synonyms for phenomenal, fantastic, untouchable, all of those and more needed to describe what Jake Oettinger has done so far for the Stars through the early goings of this season. And it is not too far-fetched to say that Jake Oettinger right now in this moment is the best goalie in the National Hockey League. A lot of times whenever there's takes made on this podcast, I say one of the best or near the top of the list, but there is no question and no doubt about it right now. Jake Oettinger is the undisputed number one goalie in the league right now based on numbers and just what he does every single night that he's in the net to put his team in a position to win. His only loss so far coming in Boston, but he still did all he could and played fantastic that night to put the Stars in a prime position to potentially win that game. The offense just not able to do what they've done on other nights so far this season, and that's bound to happen a few times. Certainly not something that you can peg on Jake in this game. Really just has not done very much wrong so far this season. And there's other goalies that have done well, but Jake Oettinger is on another level, on another planet right now to start the season. He is absolutely picked up where he left off, at the end of his run in the playoffs last season. And I imagine that his motivation was to not skip a beat. And not only has he not skipped a beat, he is, playing a one-man band concert show on his own and killing it. He's crushing it. Now let's take a moment and hear what Jake had to say about his performance in the locker room after the game. And we'll also hear what his coach, Pete DeBoer, had to say about his heroics through the first few games of the season as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can be, one of the best goalies in this league, and it's just now, proving it every night and, staying healthy and, just doing my job. And, the team hasn't asked me to, save the world or anything back there. Just do your job and make a few big saves every night. And I plan on hopefully doing that every night for this team. So it's been good so far.
Given your age and experience after the playoff series, there was on the outside there was a lot of but like can you keep doing it? Did you hear any of that, and how did you react? Kind of go to it.
Yeah, I mean, you see goalies in the past go on like crazy runs and then not really being able to sustain a good career. So obviously I've had a lot of great goalies around me that I've been able to watch and see what they do in order to have great careers, and just picked up little stuff from them. And I think if I do what I do every day and do all the little things continually, that I'm going to like my game and play well for a long time, hopefully.
Yeah, what do you say? I mean, I think we knew, that we had a starting goalie. I think, but until you come out and do it every night, you always wonder, if it's real. But it's real. Like, I mean, he's the real deal, and it's such a luxury to have a guy like that, because he makes hard saves look easy, and your team plays with composure in front of him because they know, that he's got those pucks. So, it has a ripple effect on our group. He's got a great demeanor. He's very professional, but also has a real calming personality. Doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. And what gets overlooked sometimes is the guys have to want to play for you. They have to want to throw themselves in front of a puck to help you out, because you're a good guy and a good teammate, and he's got all those qualities.
One thing I really like about Jake Oettinger is there's a level of humility with him, the way he speaks and the way that he addresses people and the way he carries himself. But at the same time, he has maybe the most confidence on this entire team. And it's not an arrogant confidence. It's not a confidence of, look at me, I'm the guy, this team is only successful because of me. It is a good balance of humility, knowing that there needs to be work put in, and the things that he's doing are not just happening by circumstance. They're happening because he has prepared himself to play at such a high level, but there's also this confidence of knowing that he's put in that work and that he can go in every single game, every single night he's out there on the ice, and give the kind of performances that he's given us so far through the early parts of this hockey year. And this team as a whole can go pretty far as is, and if Jake Oettinger is going to continue to play like this all season long, I mean, the sky is the limit with this team. The sky is the limit with Jake Oettinger. They can go very far. If the offense can continue to produce, if the Stars can continue to put the puck in the back of the net, and of course, if Jake Oettinger continues to put up incredible numbers and put the Stars in a chance to win every night. Well, coming up next, we will take a moment and hear from Jason Robertson and Yoel Kiviranta about their goals in last night's game. The goaltending and the defense, fantastic last night, but also have to give credit to some of the offense as well, and there were some pretty amazing goals. More on that after a quick break. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by our friends at BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for betting football and the start of the new basketball season. Find all of the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth analysis on every game. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sports wagering information, with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all of your favorite games and events, including Major League Baseball, MMA, boxing, and golf. The World Series starts tonight in Houston. You want to bet on the World Series. You want to bet on NFL football this weekend. You want to bet on Stars Rangers on Saturday. You can do all of that at betonline.net. You can head to their website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action happening around the sports world. BetOnline.net is where the game starts. Moving on this Friday episode of Locked On Stars, thank you again for making us your first listen of the day. We've heard from Jake Oettinger and talked about how well he played last night, but the shutout, as great as it was also complemented by some great offensive plays from this Dallas team. And it really feels like they deserved more than 2 goals in this game. There were some great shifts by this team, some really good looks. It felt like all 4 lines were playing pretty efficient hockey and putting constant pressure on the Washington defenseman, as well as Darcy Kemper, which we know Darcy Kemper's, one of the better goalies in the league, a Stanley Cup champion last year. Not an easy matchup going against a guy like that, even if it is a matchup at home. But the Stars found a way, even though it wasn't as many goals as we saw them score in the first handful of games this season against Nashville and Winnipeg. The Stars still were very productive offensively. It only resulted in 2 goals, but I think if they continue to do what they did on Thursday night, we will see more fruits of their labor. And a big part of it, I think, also is the Stars did a relatively good job of staying out of the penalty box, only giving the Capitals 3 power play opportunities. And I'm glad that the Stars won, and I'm glad we're about to hear from Robo and Kiwi, because otherwise I would be going on a rant about the officiating, because Mason Marchment deserves the respect of National Hockey League officials. They literally watched him take a cross-check to the head and did absolutely nothing, and they continue to disappoint me, even though I feel like I shouldn't be disappointed at this point with them, but I digress. Happy thoughts here on this Friday episode, celebrating a win. The referees cannot hold me down, try they might. But Jason Robertson, of course, getting the scoring started as I predicted on Thursday's pregame episode. Maybe one of the first times ever that I've actually gotten a first score prediction right for the Stars, but it looked like for a second that it was Nils Lundqvist's goal. He takes a shot from the top of the zone, and Jason Robertson just barely gets a stick on it. And if you watch the replay, the way that puck moved, I mean, no doubt, that Darcy Kemper could not get a hold of that puck. Let's take a moment now and hear what Jason Robertson had to say about his goal and the offensive performance from the team tonight.
It was a great response from everyone coming off that road trip. And I think as a whole, we played a very solid game tonight.
How much do you practice just kind of making sure your stick's in the right place? And I mean, that shot's coming so fast. How do you even make sure that it is there?
I mean, it's hard to react to that, but just put it in a place that's available. Just put it good length and hopefully hit it, and it did today. So it was nice to win in.
Is there any Joe Pavelski stuff to that as well? Do you watch him a lot, how he does it and stuff?
Yeah, well, I think what's important is when you don't get your stick tied up, you're able to get your stick on it. He's one of the best at it, and just fight and get your stick free.
I mean, look at the fourth line. Just seemed to have a lot of great shifts tonight. Does that bring energy? It seems like once they do it, the next guys out have a lot of energy too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it sets us all as a group a lot of momentum. They had a couple good shifts before we scored in the first period, so it kind of feeds off that. And, it's great to see Kivo get rewarded there with a nice move at the end. So it's really a whole team effort.
Great to see the top line in the mix. Rope Hintz getting an assist on that goal as well. And Nils Lundqvist continues to be a great addition to this team, stepping up in the absence of Miro Heiskanen as he was expected to do, and he's done just fine. He's done fine when Miro's been in the lineup, and he's done just fine with Miro outside the lineup, and he continues to be a great add by Jim Nill and the front office just days before the start of the regular season, and he has really just picked things up, and things have gone off without a hitch for him here in Dallas. But it wasn't just Lundqvist and Robo getting the offense going last night. Yoel Kiviranta really put a charge in the building last night. The crowd had good energy throughout the majority of the game, but then Yoel Kiviranta sent the place erupting with an incredible play on the penalty kill with a shorthanded goal, and he is slowly but surely emerged into a true star, yes, pun intended, on this team. I mean, what he's done and the jump that he's made from last season to this season is nothing short of spectacular. And not too many other players have done what he's been able to do, given how the last few seasons have gone for him. I mean, he's providing consistent scoring, mainly playing on the fourth line this season, somewhere in the bottom six, which is something the Stars desperately needed this season. And he has been one of several players who's been able to answer the call there, which is great for this team. Stars desperately needed it, and it's great to get it from a guy like Kiviranta that is familiar with this team and really kind of had a couple down years after playing hero in the bubble. But now he seems to have finally fully arrived as the player that the Stars wanted him to be. And it's just an incredible journey that he's been on ever since playing hero in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup playoffs in the bubble against the Avalanche to kind of going under the radar and a lot of people forgetting about him. DeBoer, in his press conference after the game, said whenever he was coaching against Dallas, Kiviranta was somewhat of an afterthought, a guy he didn't think about very much because he didn't see much of him when preparing for games or even during games. But now he's a guy that not only the Stars and Stars fans are aware of, but the rest of the NHL becoming aware of Yoel Kiviranta as well. Now let's take a moment and let's go inside the Stars locker room and hear what Yoel Kiviranta had to say about his goal, and then we'll also hear what his coach, Pete DeBoer, had to say about it as well.
I haven't been watching those situations after the games when we are in the PK and their goalie touched the puck in behind the net, and that's like a sometimes good spot to like give pressure. And then I saw the Carlson stop behind the net, and I had a good speed, so I was just like giving a shot for that, and then he was a little lazy, sloppy, and the puck was bouncing, and I got the breakaway.
Fourth line played very well tonight. Are you guys getting some chemistry going?
Yeah, for sure, and like getting good shifts and good games that like build more confidence for our line, and like I think we all like that.
What do you like about it? Is it the grit, the speed, I mean a little bit of everything?
Yeah, like a little bit everything, and the feeling that we are on the same page when we go out there, so like you can read each other a little bit more every time when you go out there, and that's like a good sign.
Yeah, you know what, he's been great. Like, you know, I remember him in the bubble, and then, you know, I kind of lost track of him last year a little bit because I didn't see him much, and obviously by his stats, you know, he didn't have the year he wanted to, but he came back motivated. I think, you know, he wanted to prove he was the player that you saw in the bubble, and you know, I think he's doing that. He's been really good for us.
Is that motor that he plays with, or Delandria, is that something that can be taught and coached, or how do you get everyone to play?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know if you can. I think everybody has different skills they hang their hat on, and those guys, you know, their motor, that's a great word for it, is what those guys hang their hat on. I mean, they're going all the time. Their legs are moving, they're attacking, they're forcing turnovers. I would put Glendening in that category too. So, you know, when you get to this level, you know, you have to do, you know, at least one.
Is that motor that he plays with, or Delandria, is that something that can be taught and coached, or how do you get everyone to play?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know if you can. I think everybody has different skills they hang their hat on, and those guys, you know, their motor, that's a great word for it, is what those guys hang their hat on. I mean, they're going all the time. Their legs are moving, they're attacking, they're forcing turnovers. I would put Glendening in that category too. So, you know, when you get to this level, you know, you have to do, you know, at least one or two things at a really elite level, and those guys, you know, their motor and their work ethic is at that level.
And I think another thing that makes the Stars team so special, besides Jake Ottinger's goaltending, is what I said just a few moments ago, is that this team is no longer reliant only on that top line. They are finding ways to score and be productive offensively from other players. Of course, the top line is still contributing, and that is a key aspect to this team's success, but you're getting guys like Yoel Kiviranta finding ways to score. Wyatt Johnston had some good moments last night, Ty Delandria, and of course you have Mason Marchment, you have Tyler Seguin. The fourth line in general, which was kind of a key theme that was continually hit on throughout the questions asked to players and Coach DeBoer Thursday night after the game. The fourth line, Luke Glendening, Radek Faksa, and Yoel Kiviranta played really well. Even the guys that aren't necessarily scoring threats like Faksa and Glendening are finding ways to contribute to this team, whether it's checking hard, good passes, winning in the face-off circle. I mean, it's just the little things, and some things go overlooked with a team like this, but there's not really a guy that's not bearing his weight. Of course, we'd love to see more, you know, number productions from Denis Gurianov right now. I think that will come. Denis Gurianov certainly has played a little bit better in the last few games he's played in. I think it's maybe similar to what Rope Hintz went through last season, where he didn't score for the first month of the year, and then he got the first goal, he broke the ice, and then he really, you know, took off and was the player that we know him to be. And I feel like the same thing can be said of Denis Gurianov. I think once Gurianov gets that first goal, I don't know if we'll see him explode quite like Rope did last season, but I think that will boost his confidence and boost his morale, and we'll see maybe a different version of Denis Gurianov than we've seen so far up to this point this year. Well, we're going to take another quick break, and when we come back, we will shift our attention to the Stars' next game. They play on Saturday afternoon. Another team from the Metro Division coming to town, Stars versus Rangers. We'll talk about that matchup after this quick break. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by our friends at SimpliSafe. The numbers don't lie. In the last decade, over 4 million people have chosen SimpliSafe Home Security to protect their home. You don't earn that trust of that many people without doing something right. At SimpliSafe, your safety is the only thing that matters. With 24/7 professional monitoring, SimpliSafe's agents call you the moment a threat is detected and dispatch police or first responders in an emergency, even if you're not home or can't be reached. SimpliSafe blankets your home in protection with advanced sensors for every room, window, and door. HD security cameras for inside and outside your home, and smarter ways to detect motion that only alert you when the threat is real. And even hazard sensors that identify, detect fires, floods, and other threats in your home. You can customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes at simplisafe.com/lockedonnhl and save 20% on your SimpliSafe security system when you sign up for an interactive monitoring plan and get your first month absolutely free. You can visit simplisafe.com/NHL, lockedonnhl to learn more. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. We're closing this week out on a high note. The Stars get the win on Thursday and get today off. No game, but then they get right back to it. They lace up the skates again on Saturday afternoon. Early puck drop, 1 o'clock Central Time, and they'll take on the visiting New York Rangers, a team that beat the Stars in Dallas at the American Airlines Center last season, but the Stars getting the win at Madison Square Garden in the season opener last year. So a team that split the season series, and they're playing early in the year yet again. This time they're playing game 1 of their season series in Texas. And while Dallas served up a shutout on Thursday night, the Rangers in their last game were on the opposite end of the spectrum. Their last game on Wednesday night, they were shut out on the road against the New York Islanders. And I guess on the road isn't quite the right term because both teams play in New York, although they were not playing at Madison Square Garden. It's a division rival, inner city rivalry, and you can't imagine that the Rangers enjoyed, one, losing to the Islanders, but also getting shut out by the New York Islanders. You have to imagine that rubbed them the wrong way, and they're going to come out well-rested, having Thursday and Friday off from playing games, and they're going to be ready to go, even with the travel. I expect this Rangers team to come in fired up and ready to play. Although the Rangers in general have been off to kind of an odd start based on where they finished last year and what the expectation has been for them this year. They're off to not a bad start, not a great start though, kind of a mediocre start, sitting at 3-3-2, a -4 goal differential, and so far they have 1 win and 2 regulation losses on the road so far this season. So haven't been particularly good away from Madison Square Garden, but even when they have played at MSG, they haven't been, a different type of team there either. And this is a team that just made an appearance in the Eastern Conference Finals, and the roster looks mostly the same. They return all of their great players, and they add a few depth pieces as well. So on paper, this should be one of the best teams in the league, and one of, if not the best team in the Eastern Conference, yet they're off to a little bit of a rough start this season. And the Philadelphia Flyers actually sitting at the top of that Metro Division, just like we all predicted. Am I right? But nonetheless, this Rangers team, even with the mediocre start, you still cannot write them off. You still cannot take them lightly, as they still pack a heavy punch with plenty of talent on the roster. Just a few of the names to take note of. Many of these names you guys know. Artemi Panarin leads the way in points, 4 goals, 8 assists, 12 points in total. Mika Zibanejad has 4 points and 4 assists so far this season. Adam Fox, one of the best defensemen in the NHL, has 2 goals and 5 assists so far this year. And Chris Kreider, a 50-goal scorer last season, 2 goals so far this season, and 2 assists to go along with it. And, of course, they have the 2022 Vezina Trophy winner Igor Shesterkin on their roster, who has done pretty well to start the season. His numbers certainly not bad, but not great. Of course, not as great as guys like Jake Ottinger's or even Carter Hart of the aforementioned Philadelphia Flyers. Igor Shesterkin has 3 wins and 2 overtime losses on the season so far, a 2.57 goals against average and a 9.16 save percentage. I imagine that he's going to get the start in this game, and then Jaro Halleck will get the nod on Sunday in Arizona. This is actually game one of a weekend back-to-back on the road for the Rangers, which is a tough outing, and they get the better and tougher team first, with all due respect to the Arizona Coyotes, but I don't think that that's wrong of me to say that the Stars are a better team. So I imagine that the Rangers will put their better goalie in net to try to slow down the Stars, and then their backup Halak getting the start on the road against the Coyotes on Sunday. But really, the biggest storyline going into this game for the Stars is, of course, will Miro Heiskanen be put back in the lineup? He's now missed 2 consecutive games with a day-to-day upper body injury. Still not too many details on what that injury is, but Coach Pete DeBoer said on Thursday after morning skate that there's a good chance, or a chance just in general, that he could come back and play Saturday. So recording this just after midnight on Friday morning, so we don't have updates yet, but we're of course going to be keeping an eye on it. I know many of you will be doing the same as well on social media. If Miro Heiskanen is able to play, that's great news for the Stars, but even if he doesn't, I think we saw enough from this team on Thursday to know that they still have a great shot to win and be competitive with the defensemen that they have. Nils Lundqvist, Esa Lindell, Ryan Suter, Yanni Hakanpää. Joel Hanley has come in and played his first couple games of the season, and he's done okay. I mean, nothing fantastic, but I feel like that's just Joel Hanley for you. He's a guy that can come in, and he's a good veteran presence, and you can plug him in on your roster and not have to worry too much, about a new player or a younger player not having a ton of experience. But hopefully we can see Miro Heiskanen come back in the lineup in this game. And of course, I'm sure many of you saw Matej Blumel has been recalled from the Texas Stars, one of the preseason standouts for this team, a guy who really came out of nowhere. The Edmonton Oilers was his original team, and they decide not to bring him back for this season, and so the Stars pick him up. He was a 4th-round pick for the Oilers, and he's come in and been one of the better stories for the Stars in the preseason, and he has been lighting it up in the American Hockey League so far. So he's been recalled. Jacob Peterson has been sent back down to the AHL. Will we get to see the NHL debut of Matej Blumel on Saturday? That'll be another fun storyline to follow because, like I said, he's been killing it with the Texas Stars. He was killing it in the preseason. I, for one, am very excited to see that carry over to the National Hockey League in some regulation games. And I think that this game will be a good one. I think the Rangers are going to be a little bit upset and pretty on fire to come out and try to get another win after getting shut out on the road against their rivals, the Islanders. But I still think the Stars have a great chance to win. The momentum is in their favor, and I'm going to try to go for consecutive first goal predictions. I am going to go on record and say that Tyler Seguin scores the first goal of this game against the New York Rangers, not the Islanders. And I do think that the Dallas Stars can come away with a win because the momentum is in their favor, and I imagine we will see some more Jake Oettinger in the net on Saturday, and he is on fire. Got to feed the hot hand while it's still scorching. But that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Stars. Thank you guys so much for tuning in all week and for making us your first listen every single day. Remember to smash that subscribe button on YouTube. Help us reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. You can also find and follow us on your favorite podcasting platforms. Remember that we are free and available no matter where or how you choose to listen. You can also find and follow us on social media at Locked On Stars on both Instagram and Twitter, as well as my personal Twitter account at Dane_Lewis. Be sure to tune back in on Monday as we'll be recapping the Stars matchup with the Rangers, as well as getting you ready for the week that is ahead. After the game on Saturday against the Rangers, early next week, the Stars finish up their homestand at the matchup with the Los Angeles Kings before hitting the road to take on the Arizona Coyotes. Should be a fun weekend, should be a fun week with Halloween and Stars hockey on the docket. But I hope you guys enjoy your weekend, and we will see you back here on Monday.